Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The Honourable Cabinet Ministers, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen that are watching today. Honourable Speaker, I rise today in this House to make a statement on the current situation of the novel strain of coronavirus, now formally called COVID-19, that has put the international community in Fiji on high alert. It seems that the misinformation about this disease is spreading even more quickly than COVID-19 itself. So I rise today in hopes of adding clarity to the situation and quelling unfounded fear among the Fijian public. The Director General of WHO a few days ago said that there is now another epidemic, and that epidemic is called infodemic, which is the epidemic of misinformation, and you call it infodemic. And that's why I stand today to quell that fear. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 belongs to a group of viruses called coronavirus. There are 7 coronaviruses that are currently known to infect humans, and most cause a mild flu, cold, or flu-like illness. However, there are some coronaviruses that may cause more severe disease, like SARS and MERS, which was Mediterranean Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, which affected countries around the Arabian Peninsula in 2012. And SARS, as we know, originated in China in 2003. We now have COVID-19, which is like SARS and MERS, a coronavirus that can cause severe sickness and death. COVID-19 was first recorded in late December of last year in Wuhan, the capital of mainland China's Hubei province. In recent weeks, the disease has spread and risen in severity, with new cases identified outside of China. The WHO has formally declared the outbreak as a public health emergency of international concern, or FAKE, on 30th of January 2020. Like any other new disease, these are unknown. But the things that we know from those who've had the disease is the following. Number one, 80% of those who are infected have a mild form of the disease. Severe disease only occurs in 40% of cases, 14, with people over the age of 60 and those with pre-existing diseases more likely to develop a severe case of the disease. So 80% have a mild form, 14 to 15% have a moderate to severe form, and these are those who are over 60 and those who have pre-existing conditions. For example, they may have an immunocompromising condition like diabetes. They may have had a previous stroke and therefore they're immobile. They may have HIV and AIDS, for example. These conditions make them more vulnerable to getting the disease and the severe form of the disease. What we also know is that about 80% of those who died of the disease are over the age of 60, and 75% of them have pre-existing conditions. The death rate, Honourable Speaker, is 2%. That means 98% of them that get the disease survive. Let's get that straight. 98% survive, 2% die. For comparison, of COVID-19 survival rate is far higher, survival rate is far higher than SARS. SARS, which went past at 90% survival rate, and MERS less than 70%. COVID-19 is 98% survival rate. COVID-19's infection rate is higher than SARS and MERS, but lower than measles. Measles, when one coughs in the room, can infect 13 people. SARS and MERS is about 2 to 4. COVID-19 is in between the two. Okay, so it's not very contagious like measles. That means that simple, preventative actions, listen to the doctor, and good hygienes, like frequently washing your hands, can prevent you from getting the disease. It's not airborne. It's not airborne. It's not airborne. The disease has rarely been diagnosed in children, which suggests that young people who do get infected have a very mild form of the disease. We also know that this virus is transmitted from person to person through droplet spread, requiring close human-to-human contact. So if someone has the disease, then touches someone else, then they can get it. Not airborne. There is zero, I repeat, zero evidence that this disease can be spread through the air. This is what we know so far. This is a ministerial statement, not a question time. We will continue to work closely with the experts and medical professionals of WHOs to stay up to date on every new development and discovery relating to this virus. We expect additional information on the severity of the virus, clinical features, risk factors and transmission patterns to emerge from the research and studies underway in special institutions around the world. At the present time, Fiji's nationwide response has been formulated on the best available information provided by the world's top minds working to address, contain and manage this new disease. As of today, Honourable Speaker, there are 0 confirmed cases of coronavirus in Fiji. Despite being recorded in 29 countries and territories around the globe, we've implemented a multi-layered response to prevent an outbreak in the country. And we are actively preparing our medical facilities all over the nation to contain a case of the virus should one arise. We currently have 2 patients with flu-like symptoms who have traveled recently in isolation while we await their results. Given that it's a flu season, we expect that there will be more people tested over time and that the public should not be concerned about this, as it shows that we are exercising an abundance of caution. Listen, an abundance of caution. Fijian borders remain closed to all visitors from China within 14 days of their planned travel to Fiji. These passengers are screened at every port of entry in the country, contrary to what has been implied by Fiji Times, that I will get to shortly. To guide our national efforts to protect the Fijian people from COVID-19, the Ministry of Health and Medical Services established a national task force chaired by Fiji's medical advisor, chief medical advisor, that regularly meets to plan and coordinate our national response. This chief medical advisor is a local. This chief medical advisor is very well qualified. This chief medical advisor is a person of the highest caliber, and he is heading our response. This body includes divisional heads, heads of divisional hospitals, heads of national programs, representatives from private health sector, the College of GPs, medical experts from the university, representatives from technical agencies like WHO, the Secretariat of the Pacific Communities Public Health Division, donor agencies and civil societies. Border screening protocols ensure that we're able to identify any suspected cases as early as possible and provide them with immediate assistance to ensure they do not become a potential source of infection to others, including their family members, health staff, and members of the public. Honourable Speaker, our health divisions and main hospital have developed their preparedness plans. They're stocking up on essential medical supplies, preparing isolation facilities, and training staff on the Ministry's infection control guidelines and COVID-19 public health and primary care management guidelines. Our health teams at the border continue to train staff of other border agencies and airlines to ensure that our combined border responses are enforced to maximum effect and adhere to best practice. As a component of the overall preparedness and response plan for the Ministry, preventative isolation units in the Western, Central and Northern divisions are being prepared, which include Nadi and Naboo Hospital, which have isolation wards established. Honourable Speaker, I'd like to dispel a number of totally bogus rumors that have been spread about our ongoing preparations at Naboo Hospital. There are no planes, Honourable Speaker, of COVID-19 positive foreign nationals en route to Fiji and to Naboo Hospital. Naboo Hospital is not a quarantine unit for other nations. It's not. Number one. Honourable Speaker, the establishment of an isolation ward is a routine precautionary measure taken in line with best practice. No risk is posed to residents in Naboo. Honourable Speaker, in fact, the presence of the unit means the risk of COVID-19 outbreak is dramatically reduced. Why? Because isolation units work. Honourable Speaker, Naboo was ground zero for measles. Ground zero. It started in Wainandoi. And that's where we contained it, Honourable Speaker, in Naboo Hospital. That's where we contained it. Because isolation units work. And during that time, we went and visited Naboo. The Honourable Speaker came and visited Naboo. I did not see any opposition member come to Naboo Hospital, let alone Wainandoi, no Naboo Nikambi. Why? Because they work. Because they work. During the measles outbreak, there was an isolation unit there and it worked. And in these units, patients are isolated from the public and prevented from leaving. They have separate toilets and bathrooms. They are treated by staff in full protective uniforms, personal protective equipment, meaning masks, eye shields, gloves, and gowns. Their laundry is done separately. Visitations are heavily restricted, and if necessary, police can ensure these units remain totally isolated from the public. But we're not stopping with border control or preparing hospitals. We are also preparing and educating the Fijian people on how they can protect themselves and others. There's a simple checklist that every Fijian should know. Cover your mouth and nose with disposable material when coughing or sneezing to avoid the spread of infected droplets. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water to avoid spread of infected droplets resting on your hands. And encourage those around you to seek factual information about the disease from credible sources such as the Ministry, WHO, and the Prime Minister's official statements. Fiji has not been spared from what the Director General of WHO has called the infodemic, the mass misinformation of COVID-19. Unfortunately, lies, it seems, are extremely dangerous. Honorable Speaker, the Fiji Times ran an article online under that reckless, dangerous heading 2019 COVID-19, no screenings conducted at Wharf regarding passengers disembarking from a cruise ship in Suva Harbour. Honorable Speaker, it blew up on social media and was the top viewed story on their website. In the online version of the story, there was no mention that that cruise ship and its passengers were actually screened at the port of entry of Lautoka. For some reason, that vital information was completely missing. Luckily, we got onto them and removed that story online, but the damage was already done. Panic ensued, and it was the Fiji Times who was to blame. This is not the first time that it has done this, gone on the front foot with half a story, but on this note, it went too far. To throw an inflammatory headline like that on Facebook with zero facts to back it up was a serious threat to public health and well-being. We cannot afford to see anything like that. Mr. Fred Wesley, we know that we will be watching your reporting on your newspaper and online and on Facebook to ensure you're sticking with nothing but the facts. I urge your leadership to do the same, your readership to do the same. Mr. Speaker, the Fiji Times aren't the only ones to blame. Members of the opposition, namely Honorable Tambuya, have proven they are far more interested in preying on people's panic than on providing real information. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Tambuya is not a doctor. She is not an expert. She's a keyboard warrior who doesn't hesitate to give away her platform to any causes, no matter how deceitful, which gets enough likes to gain her attention. She recently endorsed a petition regarding the establishment of Navua's Hospital's isolation ward, a step which, I remind her, could have saved somebody's life, God forbid, if COVID-19 arrived in Fiji. Honorable Speaker, the petition claims that trade winds could spread the virus throughout the entire nation. Mr. Speaker, this is absurd. This is not an airborne disease. There is no risk of trade winds or any other winds, south winds or western winds, northern winds, no other wind can carry COVID-19 throughout Fiji. Honorable Speaker, the petition called for the use of, listen, the petition...
Mr. Speaker, sir, we are concerned that the Honourable Minister is being economical with the truth, and he needs to explain. Sir, when they got off the cruise ships, he mentions they were screened. He mentioned screening, so that is that could be misleading. Can he explain in detail what that means? Because the tourists said they were not screened.
Honourable member.
Relevance and accuracy, thank you.
You have the floor, Minister.
The petition, Honourable Speaker, this petition called for the use of isolation wards on outer islands. If that were to happen, the ads of an infected Fijian, they said Moala. I want Fiji to hear, they've said Moala. The odds of infected Fijians surviving would plummet. We simply do not have the capacity at this stage now, in the islands, the facilities to treat a serious case of the virus. Frankly, the idea is appalling. We will never allow a misplaced, ignorant fear to jeopardize the life of a patient. Some will find it easy for such measures to be discussed when the prospective sick and suffering may not be theirs. But what if it's their family? What if it's them or us? It could be me, it could be them. Would they be like to be put on another island without any facility to look after them, knowing that there is a 98% survival rate? 98% survival rate. Honorable Tambuya should be ashamed to have associated herself with such irrational and inhumane positions. You're supposed to be a leader. Real leaders don't fan flames of panic. They seek the facts and they provide our people with responsible guidance. By undermining the vital work of our ministry, of people who are your colleagues, your friends from school, those who are your cousins, your brothers, your daughters and sons who work in the Ministry of Health, by undermining them, making them have mistrust in the people of Fiji, have mistrust in the system, then I'm sorry, you've made yourself a clear and present danger to our citizens' health and well-being. And as a doctor, I feel the need to tell Honorable Tambuya this. Don't think about the lights.
Order.
Point of order, Honourable Speaker. The Honourable Minister is again misleading the House. There's absolutely nowhere in my petition on my page that I've ever mentioned the trade winds he's talking about. Please show that to me or in the House. Otherwise, withdraw your statement. That's a point of order. Yeah? It's there where? It's not here in my petition. He is misleading the House, Honourable Speaker. I've not mentioned that at all on my post. Thank you. He needs to withdraw that. And stop picking on me and my classmates and my family in your statement. Thank you.
You made your point of order. Honourable Minister.
Real leaders don't flame fans of panic. They seek the facts. Don't think about the likes on Facebook. Think about lives. And I'm talking as a doctor now. Think about lives. Think about what is the best thing to be done to save Fijians.
Order.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Tambuya told her supporters what could happen if we don't prepare isolation wards. Does she ever know that an infected Fijian would be far more likely to die in an outer island? Has she told anyone that the petition she endorses advocates positions that condemn our nation to fully informed solutions that could cost lives? Does she know that this is the same ministry and the same government that made sure that no child died from the measles outbreak? Does she know that the Ministry of Health has taken this step in line with the most up-to-date developments and advice from the top medical minds from Fiji and around the world? Whether she doesn't know or don't want to know, I want every Fijian to know she is wrong. And her actions have serious consequences. If we do ever get a case of COVID-19 in Fiji, you know today, Fiji, that we are prepared. And will be not because of Honourable Tambuya and her politics. Honourable Speaker, many of our health staff, many, I'm passionate today because they are my colleagues, maybe not yours, but they are mine. Many of our health staff have been on the front line protecting our people throughout the measles outbreak, working night and day, 7 days a week, without respite since November last year. Their dedication to our people and their proven professionalism speaks for itself, Honourable Speaker. Our plans to contain COVID-19 is not political. They are well thought out by our experts within the ministry in consultation with WHO, and is based on evidence and international best practice, while considering local context best suited to our response and the reality of the ground in Fiji. Honourable Honorable Speaker, members on the other house who would cynically undermine the work of these people, ultimately, the safety of the public for the political point scoring should be condemned by every Fijian who shares the belief that our people's health must always rise above politics. How does the opposition think if someone who has been working on the measles outbreak, 2 tropical cyclone responses, preparing for COVID-19, is going to take this type of undermining? These are our people. These are our families. These are the Ministry of Health staff. They deserve your gratitude. They deserve our gratitude, not this type of a behavior that impairs the ability to work effectively to protect our people. If these preparations are hindered, every time the ministry sets up a facility to prepare the nation for the possibility of a COVID-19 arriving in this country, it has to fight off rumors, criticism, petitions, fake news, and community panic, then we will not be ready. It will be more likely that the disease will spread and people will die. That is what is happening here. Make no mistake, these actions endanger the health of our people, and these actions cost lives. Honorable Speaker, I've said earlier inside this house, in this August house, that my mother from the Malay Nawosa of the Abusam Dabutukia have a common phrase. The common phrase is haiwa hewa, meaning to move slowly but with absolute certainty that the option or action we are taking is the wisest given what is at hand. I echo the same phrase of haiwa hewa, Honorable Ngaboka haiwa hewa, to members of the opposite side, because everything we are doing now is to ensure not only the safety of the few, but the safety of all Fijians. My close friend from Labua would say, Giri Giri, this situation is in his honor I'm making, but as the member of the global community, our nation is vulnerable. Honorable Speaker, COVID-19 does not discriminate according to religion, ethnicity, or nationality. Just happened to make its origin from mainland China, and we must not discriminate either. If COVID-19 came to Fiji, we will need a united, facts-based response. The reality is my family can be as affected as your family on the other side. We need solidarity, we need leadership, and we need cooperation. We need to support the people who are protecting our health. Your brothers, your sisters are the Ministry of Health. Honorable Speaker, I want to finish with this. Throughout the measles campaign, Honorable Speaker, throughout this COVID-19, the Honorable Ratu Antonio Lalambalabu, Dr. Ratu Antonio Lalambalabu said nothing. Why he said nothing? You know the reason why he said nothing, Honorable Speaker? Because he knows his colleagues are more than capable on the ground to look after this nation. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.